Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling, well, arguably the most famous prayer in Christianity, the Lord's Prayer. And our source material takes us down a path that really questions how it's been understood for, well, centuries.
That's right. Billions recite it,
Yeah.
But the source suggests there's this core meaning, this profound theological point that often gets completely missed.
Yeah, an easy-to-miss detail that, frankly, changes everything.
It really does.
So our mission today is to unpack that. We have this source, an excerpt focusing specifically on the prayer's true meaning, and it argues something pretty radical.
Go on.
It argues the prayer isn't actually about waiting for Jesus to come back as some kind of, earthly king.
Right. Not a prophecy of the second coming in that sense.
Exactly. Instead, it's framed as this direct plea, a call for the eternal Father's rule, actual divine governance, to happen right here on Earth. Now,
Okay, let's get into that. The whole argument really hinges on distinguishing roles, doesn't it?
it seems so.
The source basically says, look, if you take Jesus' teaching literally here, he's pointing away from himself, all the focus, all the worship goes towards the divine source, the Father. And understanding who is praying, who they're praying to, and what they're praying for, that's what shifts the whole meaning of thy kingdom come for you, the listener.
And that starts right at the very beginning, the address.
The source highlights this immediately. Section 1 points out the obvious, maybe too obvious. It starts, Our Father in heaven.
Addressing God. Directly.
Yeah, directly. It doesn't say, Lord Christ, give us your kingdom, or, oh, Jesus, come rule over us. It's Father.
So that straight away positions Jesus differently. He's the one teaching, the Son showing followers how to pray to the Father.
Abba.
As he called him. It's presented as an act of, well, humility. Deflection, even. But here's where the source really pushes back against established thinking.
It uses this opening address to kind of dismantle a lot of later Christology. If Jesus consistently taught prayer to the Father, the source argues he's framing himself in a specific role.
Which is?
The eternal priest. The go-between, the guide, the intercessor. Not the ultimate destination of the prayer, but the one who shows the way to the Father.
Which aligns with his own words, the Father is greater than I.
Precisely. The source leans heavily on that.
Okay, but I can imagine someone listening thinking, hold on, if Jesus pointed away from himself, why did the church, for centuries, focus so much on him returning as king?
And that's the absolute core of the source's critique. It argues that if Jesus' primary role here is priest, the intercessor, then it becomes, well, theologically messy, maybe even incoherent, for him to also be the one sitting on the throne as the eternal king.
You can't be both the intercessor and the ultimate authority being petitioned.
According to this source, no. Confusing those two roles, priest and king, collapses the whole divine hierarchy.
Okay, can you break that down? What's the practical implication of confusing those roles?
Well, think about it functionally. The priest connects you, intercedes for you. The king rules, establishes the order, the law.
Right.
If you put the priest on the king's throne, you've essentially mistaken the messenger for the source. You've swapped the fundamental power, the uncaused source, the Father, for a manifestation, however divine.
So Jesus' mission, in this view, was connecting us to the Father.
Not becoming the Father in that kingly role. So the source argues, suggesting Jesus himself will take that kingly throne, misdirects the worship intended for the Father.
Wow, okay. That definitely makes the shift from focusing on the Son's return to focusing on the Father's reign really, really critical. Especially when we hit the main part of the prayer, section 2. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven.
Exactly.
We're being asked to stop seeing this just as waiting for Jesus to reappear.
The source is very clear here. It says this is an active plea. We are asking for God, the eternal Father, the ultimate divine source, to become the immediate manifest king of earth.
Not a future event, but a present plea for divine order.
Yes. For justice, peace, harmony. The kind of perfection you associate with the spiritual realm, but manifested here. It's about God's kingdom as a state of being, a divine operating system, if you like, not necessarily Christ's kingdom in a political sense.
And the source sees a problem with that common interpretation, the one focusing on Christ's return as king.
Yeah, it raises several inconsistencies, according to the text. First, it kind of undermines Jesus' own humility. His whole vibe was service, deference, right? Think of his own prayer. Not my will, but thine be done.
Makes sense.
So if he taught us to pray for God's will, the source asks why he would then establish a kingdom based on his will or person. It seems contradictory.
Hmm. And the second issue?
It confuses the metaphor. The kingdom being prayed for in this view isn't a literal territory with a ruler on a physical throne. It's divine order itself. The underlying principles of the cosmos working correctly.
So it changes the prayer from being passive, just waiting around,
Right, waiting for the clouds to part.
to being active. A revolutionary call for divine principles to manifest now. It really does demand a recalibration. I mean, I've said that prayer so many times.
We all have.
And I'm not sure I ever consciously asked myself who exactly I was asking to establish the kingdom.
And that thought process leads perfectly into section 3. Because if this prayer is asking for this universal divine order, something that goes beyond just one person's reign, well, doesn't that make the prayer bigger than just Christianity?
It absolutely does. The source makes a strong case that this prayer is fundamentally universal.
Yes. It's presented as an invocation of the one true God, the ultimate source, regardless of the name used.
Known by many names across different traditions.
Exactly. Yahweh, Vishnu, Allah, Brahman, Ahura Mazda, El Elyon. The source lists several. The names differ, but the object of the prayer, the plea for the rule of the eternal, stays the same.
And the source connects his yearning to similar concepts in other faiths.
Quite explicitly. It draws parallels, for instance, to the Hindu tradition's concepts. The yearning for Dharma Raja, essentially, the rule of righteousness, or divine law.
Okay.
Or Satya Yuga, the longing for a golden age of truth, morality, and divine order. Those aren't exactly the same, but they share that core idea, establishing God's perfect order on earth.
Which makes the Lord's Prayer incredibly inclusive then.
Yeah.
It bypasses specific doctrines to hit that common human spiritual goal.
That's the argument. Its universality comes from the fact that anyone, Jew, Christian, Hindu, Buddhist, anyone seeking divine order could theoretically pray it sincerely. Because it's about the source, not the specific messenger.
Jesus as the eternal priest, again, guiding humanity towards this universal truth.
Rather than setting up his own exclusive political coronation. That's the interpretation offered.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. We've talked about the cosmic scale, God's rule over earth. But there's an intimate side, too, right? Section 4, the kingdom within.
Yes. If we're praying for the Father's rule on earth, the question becomes, where does that rule actually begin?
It can't just be external.
Exactly. The prayer is both cosmic and deeply personal. And we have to remember Jesus' other famous teaching here. The kingdom of God is within you.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
That shifts the focus massively. It's not just waiting. It's internal work.
It has to be. So what does the kingdom come mean for us personally? If it's not just about waiting for an external event, there must be an internal mechanism, right?
Makes sense.
Well, the source suggests the mechanism is the prayer itself, understood correctly. It's not just a future hope, it's an immediate invitation. An invitation to awaken that divine consciousness, that spark of the kingdom within your own soul.
So when you pray for God's kingdom,
You're actively inviting that divine operating system, that pattern of justice, love, order into your own heart, your own mind, right now.
I see. So the external plea, thy kingdom come, and the internal work of establishing that kingdom within, they're inseparable.
They have to be, according to this view. The source argues that as your inner kingdom, your consciousness, your choices, your state of being starts to align with the heavenly ideal, then earth naturally begins to reflect heaven through you.
Through your actions, your thoughts.
Your intentions, exactly. The change starts inside. God's rule manifests on earth one person, one heart at a time. It transforms the prayer from just a ritual request into an active, ongoing spiritual alignment.
That really is the core takeaway then. Let's summarize this deep dive. The Lord's Prayer, arguably the most recited prayer, is fundamentally, according to this source, about the reign of the eternal Father, the supreme being.
The ultimate source of all that is good, just, and peaceful.
And Jesus' role as the eternal priest was to point humanity towards that universal divine worship.
Not to seek his own crowning as a temporal earthly king. The spiritual integrity of the prayer, the source contends, lies in recognizing we're asking for the eternal source's will to manifest everywhere.
And crucially, we first have to become channels for that will ourselves.
That internal alignment is key.
Which leaves us, and you listening, with a pretty significant question to ponder.
Yes.
If the heart of the Lord's Prayer truly is this plea for the eternal Father's will to be done on earth, just as it is in heaven, and if the true King is that infinite, uncaused source,
Then how does your own personal understanding of divine justice, love, peace, how does that shift?
especially when you recognize that the manifestation of that kingdom doesn't start out there somewhere.
But right here, within the human heart, within your heart.
A thought for you to explore.
Indeed. As you perhaps recalibrate your own spiritual journey.
That's all for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
We'll see you next time.
We'll be back then with another stack of sources to unpack.